In the vastness of the universe, countless civilizations thrived under the banner of the Galactic Federation. For millennia, it had been the pinnacle of interstellar cooperation, progress, and competition. To test the mettle of its member species, the Federation established the Galactic Challenge, a grueling test that pushed the boundaries of intelligence, strength, and strategy. The challenge was notorious, and for good reason. No species had ever completed it in record time. Among the galaxy's most advanced beings, the challenge became a symbol of ultimate achievement, a bar set impossibly high by those who believed only the most superior species could even hope to approach it. Sleek and towering insectoids from Tharaxis failed despite their unparalleled neural processing. The crystalline beings of Valaris, with minds attuned to quantum frequencies, crumbled under the challenge's sheer complexity. And the brutal warlords of Cardon faltered, their brute strength useless against the test's cerebral demands. It was common knowledge among the galactic elite that humans, from the distant blue world of Earth, were barely worth mentioning. Primitive, fragile, and technologically backward compared to the Federation's finest, they were considered nothing more than a curiosity, amusing creatures with stubborn survival instincts but little else of note. So when Earth announced its intention to send a representative to the Galactic Challenge, laughter echoed through the Federation halls. A mere formality, scoffed the reptilian Korath ambassador, his scaled lips curling into a sneer. Let them participate for the spectacle, if nothing else. The official announcer, a multi-limbed entity with a voice like grinding metal, formally accepted Earth's entry with thinly veiled amusement. Among those gathered, no one expected anything remarkable. The Federation only allowed such entries as a diplomatic courtesy, not because they believed these lesser species had any chance of success. As the announcement spread, humans became the subject of interstellar gossip. News feeds across the galaxy ran satirical simulations, imagining how long Earth's representative would last before utter humiliation. Alien analysts predicted failure within the first phase of the challenge, their models factoring in humanity's limited technological and cognitive prowess. Yet there was something they all failed to understand, a quality no algorithm could quantify and no advanced mind could predict. Humanity had a long history of defying expectations. When faced with impossible odds, humans didn't just endure, they innovated, adapted, and thrived. But that truth was lost on the Galactic Federation, and perhaps it was for the best. They saw Earth's challenger as nothing more than a spectacle, a pawn in a game far beyond their comprehension. But soon, they would learn that the true challenge wasn't for the human to prove themselves to the galaxy. It was for the galaxy to confront the boundless potential of a species they had so thoroughly underestimated. The Galactic Challenge arena buzzed with energy as species from across the cosmos gathered to witness the spectacle. Towering holographic screens displayed the vast, shifting labyrinth that awaited the contenders. The environment constantly morphed, blending deadly terrain, intricate puzzles, and combat simulations designed to push participants beyond their limits. When Earth's representative stepped forward, the initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and amusement. A lone human, clad in a simple utilitarian suit, stood at the entrance. No cybernetic enhancements, no bioengineered modifications, just flesh, bone, and an unshakable resolve. The challenger was Ethan Drake, a former aerospace engineer turned endurance athlete. Growing up in the harsh deserts of New Arizona, he had learned early that survival wasn't just about brute force, it was about adaptation, creativity, and relentless determination. His background made him an unlikely but ideal candidate for Earth's first attempt at the Galactic Challenge. Ethan knew what he was up against. The Federation's archives were filled with grim tales of participants who had failed miserably, some never making it past the first quadrant. But Earth's entry wasn't about bravado or blind ambition. It was a statement, an assertion that humanity was ready to stand among the stars. The alien spectators chittered and murmured as Ethan approached the starting point. A towering insectoid commentator, its mandibles clicking in amusement, broadcast across the arena. Behold, the human entry. Primitive and frail. Let us see how long this spectacle lasts. Ethan's expression remained unreadable as the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The challenge commenced, and Ethan sprinted into the labyrinth, his movements swift and calculated. The first obstacle presented itself, a series of shifting platforms over a pit of searing plasma. Alien contenders often relied on sophisticated propulsion systems to traverse it. Ethan, however, analyzed the erratic patterns and timed his jumps with precision, landing flawlessly on each platform until he reached the other side. The audience's laughter faltered. Next came the cognitive trial, an array of pulsating crystals emitting patterns of light and sound designed to overwhelm sensory perception. The task was to isolate the correct frequency and deactivate the system. While alien contenders often relied on neural implants to decode the signals, Ethan relied on something simpler: intuition. Closing his eyes, he focused on the rhythmic pulses, tuning out the distractions until he found the pattern. His hand shot out, deactivating the system in record time. The crowd's disbelief grew palpable. As Ethan pressed forward, the commentators struggled to maintain their derisive tone. Perhaps a fluke, one suggested nervously. But it wasn't a fluke. It was the result of a lifetime spent solving problems with limited resources, thinking creatively, and pushing past physical and mental limits. The Federation had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and overcome. Ethan knew he had only just begun, but he could feel the shift in the air. What had started as a joke was quickly becoming a lesson the galaxy wouldn't soon forget. The air grew tense as Ethan pushed deeper into the labyrinth, the challenges becoming more ruthless with every step. Gravity fields shifted erratically, pulling in multiple directions at once. Most contenders failed here, their bodies unable to handle the strain. Ethan gritted his teeth, adjusting his movements to the disorienting forces. Years of endurance training had taught him how to maintain balance under extreme conditions. Step by step, he navigated the maze, planting his feet carefully until he reached stable ground. A wall of shimmering energy awaited him next, humming with lethal intensity. It was a puzzle designed to manipulate neural impulses, requiring contestants to form complex thought patterns to deactivate it. Alien participants relied on superior brain structures or artificial enhancements to solve it. Ethan had neither. But what he did have was years of problem-solving experience under pressure. He knelt, observing the energy flow, tracing the patterns with his eyes. His fingers moved deftly across the glowing control nodes, forming connections that made no immediate sense to the casual observer. His approach was unorthodox, trial, error, and intuition working together. The energy wall flickered, then dissolved into nothingness. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. What they had dismissed as luck was now undeniable skill. Ethan's breath was steady but focused. He knew he couldn't let up. The next challenge loomed ahead, a combat simulation unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Alien constructs, each bristling with advanced weaponry, rose from the ground. Their glowing eyes locked onto him as they advanced in perfect formation. There was no hesitation. Ethan darted forward, dodging plasma bolts and weaving through their ranks. He didn't match their strength, but he didn't need to. His speed and agility turned the battlefield into a blur of chaos. One construct lunged, and he vaulted over it, landing behind and disabling it with a precisely aimed strike at its power core. The crowd gasped as one by one, the constructs fell. The announcers struggled to find words. Impossible, one hissed. No unaugmented being could achieve this. But Ethan wasn't finished. The final obstacle of this phase awaited him, a collapsing corridor with shifting panels that threatened to crush anyone attempting passage. Timing and precision were everything. He took a deep breath, visualizing the path ahead. Then he sprinted, muscles burning as he dodged falling panels and leapt over widening gaps. Metal groaned and thundered around him, but he didn't falter. With a final burst of energy, he dove through the last opening just as the corridor sealed shut behind him. Silence hung in the arena. The Galactic Federation, so certain of humanity's inferiority, now watched in stunned disbelief. Ethan Drake stood, battered but unbroken, defying every expectation the galaxy had placed upon him. And he was far from done. The final phase of the challenge loomed before Ethan, a vast expanse of shimmering void, dotted with floating platforms that blinked in and out of existence. Pulsing energy barriers crisscrossed the field, their chaotic patterns designed to confuse even the most advanced navigational systems. This was where the last contenders had all failed, their efforts ending in defeat just short of victory. Ethan stood still, his breath steady despite the strain on his body. His mind calculated possibilities, mapping out a path through the chaos. There was no time for hesitation. The platforms flickered, daring him to move. He launched forward, his instincts honed to razor-sharp precision. Each leap was perfectly timed, his feet barely touching a platform before it vanished beneath him. The energy barriers surged, crackling dangerously close, but he twisted his body with a fluidity born from years of pushing past physical limits. The audience, once dismissive, now watched in breathless silence. Aliens who had mocked his presence were now leaning forward, their disbelief turning to awe. Ethan was doing the impossible, navigating a course that had bested beings with far superior technology and physiology. As he reached the final stretch, the challenge threw one last twist, a shifting gravitational vortex that pulled in every direction at once. Ethan's body strained against the invisible forces, muscles screaming in protest. He gritted his teeth, focusing every ounce of strength and willpower. Step by agonizing step, he pushed forward, defying the vortex's relentless pull. Finally, with one last surge of effort, he broke free and crossed the finish line. Silence hung heavy in the arena, the magnitude of what had just happened sinking in. The announcers, usually quick with commentary, were speechless. Ethan Drake, a human from a world deemed primitive and insignificant, had completed the Galactic challenge in record time. The realization rippled through the crowd. What they had witnessed was more than just a victory, it was a redefinition of what was possible. The Galactic Federation, so certain of its superiority, now had to confront a simple truth: humanity had earned its place among the stars. Ethan stood tall, his chest heaving with exertion but his gaze unwavering. He had proven not just his own worth but the boundless potential of his species. A representative from the Galactic Council, still visibly shaken, approached and spoke through the arena's broadcast system. In recognition of this unprecedented achievement, the Galactic Federation formally acknowledges humanity as equals in the pursuit of greatness. The arena erupted in a cacophony of cheers and applause. Species from across the galaxy, once skeptical, now celebrated the triumph of Earth's representative. Ethan took a deep breath, letting the moment wash over him. He hadn't come here for fame or glory. He had come to prove a point that humanity's strength was not just in its technology or physicality, but in its indomitable spirit. And now, the galaxy would never forget it.